Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense Podcast, episode 101. We just had a great weekend in the divisional round. Great football, great matchups, great storylines. I loved it. I loved watching it. And then we end it with a college football playoff championship game. Pretty much the first ever, well, not pretty much, it is the first ever 12-team playoff championship. Ohio State runs away with it. Caden, you were on the pod when I said, watch out for Ohio State. I don't think a lot of people believed me at the time, but god damn, did they prove me right. Sometimes I get lucky, and that is the time I got lucky with one of my predictions. I feel pretty good about that one. But, Caden, what'd you think of this last weekend of football?
Exciting. It's sad that we're getting towards the end. This is also the most exciting time for football. It's nice to see, how the 12-team playoff panned out for its first year. It's nice to see some crazy NFL football games all around the board. So it was a good weekend.
Definitely. No, it was fun as a fan. It was fun watching for this show, especially. I'm excited to break it down with you. Let's hop right into the first game of the weekend, Chiefs versus Texans. What were your takeaways from this game, and what would you rate it?
Probably mid-training C overall.
Yeah, especially compared to the other games.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the stepping stone we're on here. It's comparatively because the first three quarters, it was very close. It wasn't very exciting football to say, but this Texans team's never made it to the AFC Championship. This Chiefs team's made it now 7 years in a row. It's kind of what I expected, right? Like, it never really felt the Chiefs were in danger to lose this game, even when it got, should have been tie game. The Texans shoot themselves in the foot a lot, missed field goal, missed extra point, penalties, which very debatable, but you know what you're going to get when you go into Arrowhead.
True.
So
and make those you can't even let them.
Don't even touch him. You can't even touch Mahomes. If the ball's out, don't even put yourself in a position to let the refs make that play. It's bad when you hit Mahomes inbounds and you're still begging the ref to not throw a flag because it's close.
Facts.
So, but the Texans, I think they are what we thought they were. They struggled offensively most of the season. It's kind of a sophomore slump for Stroud, and it kind of continued here. And credit to the Chiefs defense. We know how good they are. Keeping them in, and this is more or less what we expected.
Yeah, and a great game by Kelsey too. I gotta give it. Travis Kelce hasn't really heated up all year long, and we finally saw a game from Kelsey where I was like, damn, he's kind of back. But I agree with you. Compared to the other games this weekend, I think this was not I don't want to say the worst one. That sounds bad but of the four, I think it was the worst one. But I think. There's a reason why people be saying, the Chiefs are paying the refs and shit. It's just Patrick Mahomes is like the James Harden of the NFL in the sense that he knows exactly what the refs are looking for. He knows how he's literally drawing penalties. That headshot by it was Will Anderson. By Will Anderson wasn't even reviewed, which they could have reviewed that one. And it even hit him in the head. It was right in the chest. And he just flung his head back, and that flag was out before he even hit the ground. And that one sucked too, especially with momentum, because that was a third down play. Looked like they finally stopped the Chiefs, and they go on. And I want to say they score on that drive. So those are game changer plays. And like you just talked about, when you're playing the Chiefs, don't even let them get close to trying to call that type of shit. Get out of his way. But that's the other thing about Patrick Mahomes that's so interesting. It feels like he lures people in. He'll slow down a little bit, but keep in bounds. And then, or he's doing that Kenny Pickett fake slide shit. You know what I'm saying? It's on the same level as that. It's getting a little annoying, but I think he's kind of in a weird way exposing some of the flaws in the NFL's rules. There's, they've taken a big step in trying to protect the NFL quarterbacks. And I think Patrick Mahomes is kind of exposing why it might not be always a good thing to protect quarterbacks at that kind of level. But again, like you just said, I agree. The Texans, I didn't really expect a whole lot from them this postseason. Great defense. I think the defense, even against the Chargers, really carried this team. 3 picks that game. And I would say, for the most part, they contained the Chiefs, and the offense wasn't really able to get it going a whole lot at all. And so I think that's something Stroud needs to work on in the offseason, regaining his confidence. I think he'll have his receivers back with Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. So I think that'll be a huge help too. But yeah, I think going forward, I would hope to see Stroud continue to improve and this offense to improve. But other than that, I mean, I didn't expect anything less than the Chiefs. They took care of business. They controlled the game. Very, very Chiefs game. Looking at our next game, I believe it would have been the Commanders versus the Lions. Wow. You and me, man, we were both on the same page. I thought the Lions were the best team in the league. And I think in this game, it finally showed that their injuries really did haunt them. I hate to be that guy to be like, they've got so many injuries. But, I mean, a rookie QB putting up 45 points on your defense is all that needs to be said. I mean, Jaden Daniels was pretty much flawless this game.
Mm-hmm.
It was an insane performance by him. He razzled and dazzled, and I continue to be impressed with Cliff Kingsbury as offense coordinator. I continue to be impressed by Dan Quinn as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
This team has got a chip on its shoulder, and I think, it might not shock me if the Commanders somehow will their way to a Super Bowl, and he would be the first rookie QB. I think that's a crazy storyline. I didn't know that until I looked it up. I think that would be really cool, but Commanders going into this year, I don't think anybody thought they were going to be a playoff team, let alone a conference championship team, knocking off the 1 seed Lions. Yeah, first off, I would rate this game. I don't know. It's it was a weird game just because it was so back and forth. Goff didn't really play his greatest, 3 picks and a fumble, I believe. That's awful. But it was really fun watching Commanders play like they did. So I'll go grab your popcorn, but on the lower side of grab your popcorn.
I'll agree with you. I think it's grab your popcorn all the way because even though the Lions were down, God, they can score 2-3 touchdowns just like that. So, they were never out, really, it felt like. But, man, they really shot themselves in the foot this game. And I don't know if it was more, coming off a bye in the first round.
Yeah.
Maybe got to their head a little bit. Maybe they were looking ahead to the next round. Maybe they were thinking they're going to get a Vikings matchup and they weren't prepared for the Commanders. I think there's a lot of outside things that kind of played a factor into this too. Head coaches or offensive coordinators looking at being head coaches. Ben Johnson is a big, interviewing, still in the season, kind of like, I never understood that. Cliff Kingsbury, he's like, don't even talk to me till the season's over. But everyone else, get your mind set on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But for the Lions, like we said, Goff, some very inopportune turnovers. They got the score on their first drive, right? And it was like, all right, the second drive. It's like, all right, this is the Lions team that we expected. They went right down the field. Then they got the ball back again, and they were marching again. Then Goff turns it over.
Yep.
And then the pick six when he had an easy check down that he tried to force to Amon-Ra. Then he got lit up.
I was going to say, Frankie Louvu, shout out Washington State.
Yeah. Oh. And that pick was bad. Then he got him back within another score game. And then the pick right at halftime, he had the receiver open. He just underthrew it a little bit. That's, taking at least a field goal off the board. So you're not going to win games when you lose the turnover battle like that. And the Commanders, man, they controlled it. Jaden Daniels looked like a vet out there. Just dance around the pocket, just finding receivers. He had some sweet deep passes that unbelievable, just confident.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're just, they're playing for house money. It feels like they got nothing to lose.
Totally.
They're just going for broke.
Totally.
And fun coaching staff, bunch of young guys, and this is a scary team.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the Bengals team a few years back with the Rams Super Bowl. There's a lot of comparisons. Young Joe Burrow, chip on your shoulder. Nobody thought they were going to be there. I think there's a lot of comparisons here. I wouldn't be surprised if we have an upset on Sunday. I don't know if that's going to be my pick. We'll get there, but it wouldn't shock me. And Jared Goff, I like him. I think He can be really efficient. He can be really great. I think he's underrated a lot of times. He's got to be more consistent. You can't come out in a playoff game and just have 4 turnovers. It's unacceptable at his level, with a defense that's really riddled with injuries. You can't be putting your defense on the field that much. And I think he was trying to force things a little bit too much, maybe play a little bit too much hero ball. In my opinion, when you're making turnovers like that and you're behind, that's when he kind of panicked. That shows the kind of panic that he had, and hopefully he can learn from this experience. But the Lions, I think they're going to be just fine. They've got a great future ahead of them. Wouldn't be surprised if they're back next year in a conference championship of some sort. And the Commanders, like you said, they're scary, man. They're scary. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do against the Eagles.
Let's talk about NFC North real fast. 0-3 in the playoffs, 14-win team, 15-win team, 14-win team, 11-win team, 0-3, all kind of embarrassed in that sense too.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too because I feel like regular season wise, I think everyone was kind of in agreement that was the best conference. And if there was a second best conference, it was AFC North. Neither one of those conferences or divisions have a team in the conference championship now. So I think that's a super interesting point you bring up too. One I've also seen in the comments on a lot of different posts. So, all right, well, let's go to Sunday's games. Rams versus Eagles. Interesting game. Jalen Hurts really didn't do much through the air, but I don't think he really needed to. And, I kind of respect it. So what were your thoughts on this game? What do you rate it?
It's kind of a chippy, kind of, chess matchy kind of game, man. It was, hard fought. It's just, I don't know, the Rams, this is the way they play. They play with that chip on your shoulder too. Like, they try to be tougher than you. They play scrappy football games. Like, a lot of the times they're not the better team, but they find ways to exploit and try to match up.
Yeah.
And like you said with the Eagles, it felt like they knew Saquon is dominant against this Rams team, and they kind of just let him run the show. And he broke off 2 huge touchdowns, and it was kind of sloppy though offensively for both teams. They had turnovers, shut down drives, and then the second half the snow started pouring down, and it felt like the Rams had opportunities to kind of control the game at the end, and they went out and had back-to-back turnovers in the second half, allowing the Eagles to build the lead. And then that huge touchdown Saquon had, that's like inexcusable for the Rams. But then they go down, score, get a stop. Puka Nacua makes one of the craziest catches I've seen in the snow. That was gross.
Man. He's insane.
And after he made that catch, in my mind, I was like, wow, the Rams are going to steal this game. That's honestly what I thought.
I genuinely thought they were too.
I was like, Matthew Stafford has done this one too many times in his career. And that they're going to get it done. And then 3rd and 2, unblocked Jalen Carter, just a big mistake.
That was the dagger right there.
And in my head, because they had a 3 front and then they brought a stunt with Carter. And so that's what opened it up. But I was thinking, they had a timeout with 25 seconds left. Maybe you run the ball there, catch them off guard, get the first down, give yourself, more of an opportunity. You still have time, you clock it, 3 downs. But I know this Eagles team, they play a lot of games like that too. Their defense bends and doesn't break right at the end of a lot of games. So
they're tough. They're tough, man. And they've got dudes. They've got dudes all over that can make plays. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, Eagles, I think they lean on Saquon, and they've been leaning on Saquon all season long, which I really respect. Saquon has proven this year that he is the best running back in the league. And it's, 60-yard run, 70-yard run? Like, who does that in a playoff game? Like, it's nuts. It feels like he has elevated himself to a different tier this season. And it's incredible to watch. I think the Eagles were extremely lucky to land him. I mean, just extremely lucky, because this team, I think, is just totally revamped. And I have a lot more faith in this Eagles team with him on the team. And like you said, the defense, they bend, but they don't break. I felt like the Eagles were in control for most of the game until the end. I genuinely thought the Rams, I thought Matthew Stafford was going to do his magic. You know, I like this Rams team. I've been praising them all year long. They're a dark horse team. You can't doubt Stafford. You can't doubt McVay. And they had a chance. Jalen Carter blew up that chance. And I did find it funny with the Jared Verse saying he doesn't like the Eagles fans and all that. But, Rams got a good future. They got a lot of young guys, Puka Nacua, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. I mean, they have been drafting really well. That GM needs way more credit because his draft skills, I mean, these are guys he's finding late in rounds. Puka Nacua, I don't even know what round he went. He was a later round. Braden Fisk, I believe, was a second rounder. Like, these are really great finds by that GM. And I'll be curious how long Stafford plays for long. Like, do you think he retires? I heard that rumor.
I don't think so. I still think he's got a couple years, at least another shot for sure.
Yeah.
I think they have the talent around him right now. Kieran Williams, Puka Nacua, defense is still strong. Offense gets stronger. If they have another good draft, who knows, the ceiling could elevate. The only thing about the Rams is their involvement with Cooper Kupp this season was very limited. It seemed like I don't know what happened. Nacua seemed to get majority of the targets and catches this year, and there's a little bit of frustration there. I think Cooper Kupp, there's rumors of him wanting an out this offseason because he knows he's the number one guy, but it's hard when Nacua can do all that too. So you don't think he'll take that secondary role.
Talk about another guy that's elevated himself. Like, I thought he was great last year, and I feel like he's just making these insane catches game after game, putting up 100+ yards. But Stafford's, I don't know. I feel like Stafford's always been that guy. Like, he picks his guy, and that's the guy he goes to over and over and over again. It was Cooper Kupp. It was Megatron. Like, he always has his guy. Like, that's just, in my opinion, as a QB, it's not a lot of QB strategy, but that's Stafford's strategy. He's got his guy, and that's his go-to guy. But, yeah, very interesting game. I would go grab your popcorn just for the ending itself. And it's a snow game. I love snow games. I know a lot of people. There's been a lot of talk about that, which we'll get to in this next game, especially. I love snow games. I'm a fan of the cold weather. I think it's awesome for football. I think it's one of the only sports where you get to see it, personally. But all right, well, let's go to our final game of the weekend: Bills Ravens. In my opinion, this has got to be the game of the weekend. My eyes were glued the entire time. 2 MVP candidates going head-to-head, and I think it lived up to the hype. It's funny because if I actually look at whose offense I think played better, but if we take out the turnovers, I look at whose offense actually played better, I actually think it's the Rams because I believe they had way more yards. And it just felt like every drive, it was like the Bills were on their heels. And then some sort of turnover would happen. You had the Lamar interception. You have the Lamar fumble. And then you have the Mark Andrews fumble. And those were huge momentum plays. 2 of those were on the opposite side of the field. At the very least, you're getting 3 points out of those drives. So those were huge momentums. And then obviously the ending with Mark Andrews dropping the 2-point conversion. And, I thought Lamar was going to beat the fucking playoff fraud antics for a second there. I was like, holy shit, they're going to go into overtime and the Ravens are going to win this game. Like, holy shit, we're never going to hear the end of this about Josh Allen choking another game. And then Mark Andrews drops it. And holy shit, man, that was a nuts play. Nuts ending. But on the other side of it, I do want to give the Bills credit. They played a very methodical game. They got up early, first half. Sure, they didn't score a whole lot in the second half. They really focused on running the ball and just executing. No turnovers, executing. And that's what won them this game. Defense looked for their opportunities. I mean, that fumble on Mark Andrews, that punch out, that's a hard play to do. Like, I don't think people realize how hard it is in football running full speed to punch a ball out like that. Like, that is hard, man. So credit to the Bills defense for looking for their opportunities. I loved Von Miller.
Yeah.
looking vintage Von Miller. I was like, holy shit, he's gonna run all the way.
Yep.
And Jeremy Hill caught up to him, but no, it was a fun game. I think you know the legacy continues from Lamar Jackson. He is Joel Embiid. He is James Harden. He is whoever you want to insert for not playoff performer. Overall, I think he had a decent game, but the turnovers cost him once again.
I agree. I think it was obviously grab your popcorn. Like it was the most hype game going into it, and it started off with the Giant, just a 1-2 punch. Ravens down the field scored.
Yep.
Bills answer right back right away, and I was like, oh yeah,
Yep.
here we go. This is going to be one of these games.
Yep.
And then I think the interception that Lamar threw, that was just, if
That
you
was
look at
weird.
it, Bateman went to do a corner route. He thought he was running up the field. Still didn't
Yeah.
see the safety regardless. It probably, was leading to an interception either way he threw that, but that was inopportune.
Yep.
And then the fumble that he had was just didn't even get hit. It just slips
No.
out of his
He
hands,
slipped.
and I was like,
Yeah.
that,
And I
and
know it was a bad snap, but the snap
yeah,
really didn't have anything to do with the
no,
actual
it's just
fumble of it.
he's looking at making a play and just drops the ball. And that
Yep.
one was bad because that was inside the 25.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So that was,
That's what I was saying, yeah.
taking points off the board. And then, like we said, the Bills, it feels like it's always like Bills versus everyone. They're not as talented. If you look
No,
like across the board,
really
the
not.
Ravens
No.
have, one of the second best running back, MVP quarterback level player, 4 all-stars on defense, type for Pro
Yeah.
Bowlers. Like this is Josh Allen and friends. It feels like a lot of the times
Yeah,
with the Bills,
seriously.
and he just wills
Seriously.
them to move the ball, and he looks fun doing it. And he made a staple for his MVP case, even though I know they don't do postseason
Yeah.
stuff. It honestly felt like this is a game for MVP,
Yeah, seriously.
regardless of the votes before.
Yeah.
And this is exciting. It sucks for Lamar, like you were talking about his legacy, playoff legacy.
Yeah.
You're losing to the Bills, and it's not like it's a bad loss. It's not like losing to the Texans or getting upset in the first round. Like I
Yeah.
think they would have probably handled the Texans very, like, probably won by 20 if they played them too. So, but you play who's in front of you, and you got to win a big game in the moment. And
Yeah.
I feel bad for Mark Andrews because, like, the fumble, yeah, you're trying to make a play, and then some dude comes out of nowhere, run 20 miles an hour, punches it out. That one's inopportune, but the 2-point conversion is the one that you can't
That's rough.
excuse
That's rough.
because
Yeah.
and the Ravens, taking it out of Derrick Henry's hands on both 2-point conversions
Yeah.
was interesting to me. I think he might have deserved a chance. I know he didn't really feel like he was utilized very much besides one drive where, he
Yeah,
pretty
the
much,
second half.
yeah, but besides that, it was more Lamar. Bateman played great. Bateman played
Yep.
really good, but this leads up to, I think, the AFC Championship most people thought was coming. So congrats to the Bills. They got it done. It's
Now
probably
can
felt like
they
a Super
now can
Bowl
they
to
get
them.
now can they get the next one done?
Uh,
Well, that's a perfect segue, Caden. Let's look into the next game.
yep.
What are the keys for
Yeah.
both of these teams? Let's start with the Chiefs. What do you think are the keys for the Chiefs?
Yeah, man. I think it's weird. I think the Chiefs need to actually play aggressive in this game, and I
Yep.
don't think they can play Chiefs football. I
No.
don't think they can keep it close. I don't think they want to keep it close against this Bills team because, frankly,
That's what they did last time.
yeah, that's what they did last time. And then Josh Allen right at the end, 4th and 2,
Superman.
broke off that 26-yarder.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the Chiefs have to play to their crowd. They
Yeah.
have to.
True.
God, you hate saying hope they get some penalties, but they will, unfortunately. But I think it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to establish a run game. I think Kelsey's going to have to be huge in this game for the Chiefs. And Mahomes is going to have to play at a higher level than he has this year, because frankly, he hasn't played at that superstar level. Like, he's been good enough to win them games, but I think we need that superstar level Mahomes performance for the Chiefs.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I also think another key for the Chiefs is they got to bring the pressure on Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think, that's something they did against the Texans, and it worked really well, especially in the second half. I think you do it again. I mean, Spagnola's he's proven he's a good defensive coordinator, man. He's just his designs are very well put, and schemes are really nice, and I think you bring the pressure. Your corners are great. McDuffie's had a great year. I think Watson's also great. I put trust in your secondary, bring the pressure, try to contain Josh Allen. And that's a big fucking task.
Yeah.
I understand that, but bring the pressure.
Mhm.
You're at home, like you said, you got your home crowd. Bring the pressure, and obviously adjust from there. If it's not working, it's not working. But
Mhm.
I think I trust more in the Chiefs DBs than I do in the Bills receivers.
Mhm.
Personally, I think the big wild card there is Josh Allen, of course, but again, bring the pressure and see what happens for the Chiefs. On the Bills side of it, I think, oh God, it's gonna be tough for the Bills, but I think it's one of those games where it's bend don't break for the
Mhm.
Bills. And what I mean by that is they can't panic. We can't get we got to have the Josh Allen we've seen all year
Mhm.
where he's composed, where he's poised, where, just like this Ravens game where they score first, he goes down and he scores right back, right? And I think kind of like what Romo was fucking screaming the entire game, put the ball in his hands. He has been superhero all year long. Let him go to work. I also think a big key nobody's talking about James Cook, man. He is playing really, really good football, and he will make what should be a 1 yard gain a 6 yard gain. Give him the ball. Trust in him that he can do work as well. Josh Allen, and James Cook. I think those are your keys on offense. And defense, like I said, bend don't break. Please, for the love of God, somebody guard Travis Kelsey in the fucking playoffs.
Yep.
I swear to God, every playoffs, they
Mhm.
just leave him open,
Yep.
wide open, down the field.
For me, for the Bills, I think some keys. You can't play behind the sticks at all in this
Yeah.
game. If you get in loss of yards, it's hard to get big plays on this Chiefs defense. You
Yep.
have to put yourself in positions, second and medium, third and shorts.
Yep.
Plays like that. You can't let the pressure get to you because they're blitzing. You're going to have to probably set up screens, quick passes, because I don't, like you were saying, I don't think receivers are going to do much damage beating the Chiefs DBs
Yep.
deep on a lot of plays. And obviously take your shots when they're there, but it's going to have to be a lot of nickeling and diming. And
Kind of what
like,
he did last game.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you got to jump out to a lead, and if you get a lead, sustain drives, kill clock, continue to try to build the lead, avoid penalties. That's going to be another thing. You can't shoot yourself in the foot with mental mistakes and bonehead penalties this game.
Yeah, I agree. Play smart. I think, yeah, this is the overall key for the Bills.
Mhm.
Going to our other game, Eagles versus Commanders. Let's start with the Commanders. What do you think are the keys for the Commanders?
And I think just keep playing loose,
Yeah.
man. Now that you got success, don't let it get to you. You keep
Yep.
letting it fly. It's a different ball game. You're going to Philly. It's going to be cold. You're coming off a high of a win. You just got to stay locked in if you're the Commanders. Execute your game plan. Get everyone involved, and just let it loose. Just have fun. If you get
Yeah.
behind early, don't panic. Don't switch up who you are, because who they are is what's got them to this point. And for the Commanders, you got to trust your DBs, I think, because Saquon is going to be looking to have another big game.
Yep.
I don't want to say stack the box because Devontae Smith and AJ Brown are still there, but
Yep.
you got to contain him. And if that's 100 yards, then maybe that's containing him, because he's seems like he wants to go for another 200 if you let him.
Yeah. I don't like saying this, but I think the Commanders need another shootout. I think they need
Yep.
a similar
Mhm.
game to what they had with the Lions if they want to win this one. I
Mhm.
believe when they played earlier in the season too, it was kind of a similar situation when the Commanders won. I think they need another one of those. And I think a big key here too, cannot, and I mean cannot turn the ball over.
Mhm.
It is huge. This Commanders defense is just not as good as the Eagles defense. Do not turn the ball over.
Mhm.
Um, I mean punts, whatever, but like Eagles seem to always capitalize on turnovers, and I think that is a huge key for the
Mhm.
Commanders, taking care of the ball. It's going to be cold, like you said. You got to take care of the ball and just play smart. I think the Commanders have the capabilities. I think, like you said, let loose, let Jaden Daniels go to work, but play smart football, similar to the Bills. But yeah, they just need to play aggressive, but aggressively smart. For the Eagles, continue to lean on Saquon. I don't think this Commanders team can handle Saquon. I said Commanders. I don't think this Commanders team can handle Saquon at all. And you know, I don't think this, take your deep shots. I wouldn't be afraid. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, I think they can beat anybody in that secondary. Take your shots when they're there. Don't be afraid, Jalen Hurts. Let it fly. And I think offensively they'll be fine. Defensively, I just said don't turn the ball over. Look for turnovers for the Eagles. Bait freaking he's young. If he has a chance, if they're down, he's going to start flinging that ball around. Look for your opportunities. You've got the guys that can do it. Bring pressure. Rookie QB struggle and pressure. Bring Jalen Carter. Bring freaking everyone, man. I would be bringing the pressure. I'd be looking for opportunities to score and get turnovers on defense.
My key for the Eagle was the exact opposite of yours for the Commanders. Avoid a shootout if you're the Eagles, is what I was thinking. Because if you get into a shootout, and they've been really good about it this season. After the first couple games, Jalen Hurts had a lot of turnovers. After that, they started controlling the way they played football, and the turnovers have gone down. If you get in a shootout, Jalen Hurts is very opportune to turnovers.
Totally.
And I think there's a good opportunity for that to come back. So you have to keep the game controlled. And I would like to see A.J. Brown get involved more in this game. They didn't hardly pass in the last game, but I think the weather will be better. This game will still be cold, like we said, but it will be better. I'd like to see their pass game get involved a little bit more, a little play action, when they're early in the game too, when they think you're going to Saquon. I think you take a couple shots. And defensively, can't let Daniels get out of the pocket. I think if you can contain him inside and take away that element, then you really just have to key on Scary Terry. And then I think you're set for the Eagles. Because I trust this Eagles secondary a lot, especially one-on-one matchups. They're sound in their positions. They tackle well. It's just not letting Daniels get out of the pocket and let coverages break down, which is also a hard task to do. But both games they played this year were close. They're good games. The second game, Jalen Hurts went out, but the Commanders still won, right at the end. So this is an interesting game. You love division rivalries in the NFC Championship game. And I think it's the other side of the coin. I think everyone expected Chiefs Bills. This one, no one. No, I don't think anyone keyed it up to this for the NFC Championship. So it'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right, who you got? Bills versus Chiefs.
My gut all season has told me this is the Bills' season to finally get over the hurdle of the Chiefs. And it's hard to say because, God damn it, the Chiefs win fucking playoff games when you don't expect them to, and they find a way, even when you think there's not this year. They can't do it again, But this year, to me, it feels like Josh Allen has elevated his game to another level. It feels like their play style is to where it needs to be. And I got the Bills this year finally elevating themselves.
I like it. All right, for me, I'm going with the boring answer. I'm going with the Chiefs. I've picked against them too many times. It is a broken record. I can't root against them. I think we're going to see them for the third year in a row in a Super Bowl. Give me the Chiefs. Eagles, Commanders.
I'm just Eagles. I think they're the better team all around. I think the Commanders are coming off, their high win, and I don't think the rookie quarterback gets to the Super Bowl. I would like to see it, but I think the pressure will get to him a little bit too much. I think they're playing a way far more talented team than the Eagles. The Eagles have been here before, and I think the Eagles get it done.
I agree. I think we're going to have another Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm going with the Eagles. I would love, and I mean love, to see the Commanders in the Super Bowl. But like you said, I just think the Eagles from top to bottom are the better team, and I think they're going to get it done on both sides of the ball. All right, well, let's talk about this college football playoff championship game. Notre Dame comes out early with the lead. I want to say like what 15 play drive, like
Yeah.
crazy, like what was it, 10-minute drive?
Yep.
Like it was nuts. And I think everyone was like, "Oh shit, Notre Dame came to play. They're
Mhm.
going for it on fourth down. They're
Yep.
doing everything." And Ohio State comes back with a vengeance. I think go up what 31-7 at one
Mhm.
point. And then Notre Dame starts to creep back. Everyone's like, "Holy shit, can Notre Dame actually pull this off?" And they don't. But what were your thoughts overall on the game?
I don't know. It was boring. Like the first drive, it was like, oh, like you said, it was like, oh shit, here is the Irish, and they look better because every other time we've seen the Irish in a championship game, it has not gone well for them.
Yeah.
Alabama, Notre Dame years ago was not even close at all. In this game, Riley Leonard willed them down the field that first drive. It was fun to
Yep.
watch. Then Ohio State goes back, answers, gets a stop, answers again, gets another stop, scores again. And it was a low possession first half, low
Yep.
possession game, really. And for Notre Dame, it's kind of what I expected to happen. It felt like they were outsized, outclassed across the board.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete against the Ohio State team that I felt was really talented all year long, especially off the high of beating Oregon, beating
Yeah.
Texas.
Yep.
Like they went through the best, and I don't think they really played the best in the championship game.
No.
But I don't want to take credit away from Notre Dame because it's hard to get there too. They beat Georgia. They played who was in front of them.
Yep.
They turned it up at the end, and then at the end of that game, you get a score, you get a fumble, you drive down the field, you put yourself in 4th and 7, and they kicked that field goal, and I don't know how I felt about that because I was like, okay, it's still a 2-score game if you get it, but then you don't have to go for 2 twice. So I think at the moment I was okay with it, and then he missed it off the left up, like it was like a 30-yard field goal, man. I was like, oh, and then it was over from there, I thought. But
Yep.
then they get the score again, make it 8 points, get yourself in 3rd and 11, and all game they were containing, the deep bomb,
Yeah.
and then they let it go right at the end at the most inopportune time, game over. And for Ohio State, a lot of people wrote them off after that Michigan loss.
Yep.
This team's over. They're done. They're going to be maybe they're going to get smoked versus Oregon in the second round, and then they just came and dominated everyone.
Yep. And I think that's the beauty of this college football playoff. I think there's been obviously a lot of discussion about how many teams should be in. Is it too many with 12, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, 14 playoff, Ohio State's not getting in with that Michigan loss.
You know,
We don't. I mean, they were the national championship winners this year. They beat
mhm,
Oregon, they beat Texas, like you said, they beat Tennessee, all really, really great
mhm,
teams. And honestly, Oregon and Texas in the old college football playoff, they both might be in. We don't. I
mhm,
mean, I don't know that for sure, but they could both be in, and that's the beauty of this college football
mhm,
playoff is you get an 8 seeded team making it all the way to the college football championship and winning it against a 7 seeded team. So I think it turned out how fans wanted the college
mhm,
football playoff to. Ryan Day, I think there was a lot of talk about, after that Michigan loss, oh, he should be fired, blah, 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 blah. They went on a run, man. Like, this
mhm.
team is super talented. And I feel like we've been hearing about Ohio State, what they're capable of for years, and they finally proved it this year.
Yep.
So big shout out to them. Notre Dame on the other side, they impressed me, especially their
Mhm.
defense. I think there's a great future there. They're in great hands with that head coach.
Yep.
And, I would expect them to, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in it next year with,
Mhm.
a different set of guys. So I think talent on both sides of the ball. But like you said, I think Ohio State was just too strong powered. They had too many dudes. That's just the fact of the matter. And
Just wish they would have seeded the
yeah,
tournament a little bit. That's my only
I think,
concern. That's my only
yeah,
gripe really about it. There's going to be blowouts. You see it. FCS has had playoffs forever. There's always blowouts in games that you think are going to be close.
I
It's
agree.
just how football happens. But I just think the way they seeded it was very top heavy on the top side of that
Yep,
bracket, and they should just kind of look at that for next year because I think if they seeded it properly, you probably do end up with the Ohio State, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon
yep,
national championship, Georgia, something like that, instead of having Boise State. SMU, Penn State, kind of
Yep.
all on that bottom half.
And I also think going back to that, I also think with seeds, I think something they should consider too is even if they have the same format, the number one team should be playing the lowest seed.
Mhm.
Like that should be happening too. Which going back on the bracket, I don't know if that still would have been
SMU.
Oregon State or Ohio State. But my
Ohio
point
State.
being is like the number one seed should get whoever is the lowest seed left.
Yeah.
That's who they should be playing. They should not be
Yeah.
playing whatever. And I also think, rankings should have somewhat of a factor on
Mhm.
seed too, because they had rankings and then they had the seeds. I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mhm.
There's some fixing they need to do. I'm hoping the committee learns from it and they'll fix it in the future. But first year, I think overall, it went pretty decent. All right. Well, anything else for the pod?
Really, it's gonna be some good football again this weekend.
Definitely. Definitely. As always, folks,
Um,
stay logical and write that nonsense. Ken, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.